They're scanning the vehicle to see if there was any bombs.
If this can find a bomb, maybe it can find a leak.
I've been in auto for 30 years, and he saw for something that I've never seen in fixed ops before on the inspection of the vehicle.
Today, you can find us in 46 states, over 1,000 machines, mainly around North America. And it's a lot of fun.
Hi, everybody. Diana, we have another interesting guest from a very interesting company and fast growing company joining us today. UVeye is the company. It's growing now in the auto space, but it started in homeland security. And I think that's how you first encountered UVeye.
I did. So the funny story is, Yaron and I were on a flight together back from a GM conference that we were going back home to New York, and he was sitting next to me in the same row. I look over and I see this guy, and he's typing feverishly on the computer. And it was like nonstop. It wasn't like, oh, I just type a few and then close the laptop and watch a movie. No, he's like going at it. And he's, like, not even paying attention to the flight attendant that's coming by. And so I'm, like, thinking to myself, "Wow, this guy is really hardworking. He must be actually one of the people who started this company." So I said, "Are you at an auto company?" And he said, "Yes." And then we started talking, and that's how the conversation all started. And I found it fascinating that the beginning of his company started because we're at One World Trade, and I basically brought cars to One World Trade, and they would scan it, and I would have to leave the car as they're scanning the vehicle to see if there was any bombs. And Yaron was the one that was telling me that his company was the first to actually do that, and that was what put them on the map. So
Exactly.
fascinating.
So, yeah, that's exactly right. Our guest is Yaron Saghiv. He's Chief Marketing Officer at UVI. We're so glad to have you here. Please tell us a little about UVI's origin story and how it got into working with auto dealers.
Sure. So great to be here. UVI is a story that we're actually celebrating 10 years this year, originally from Israel. And as Diana said, basically, when we started our company and our venture, it was originally to solve a very simple challenge or problem, which was to do a much better job than a guard with a mirror that looks below a vehicle to find bombs, right? When you enter a sensitive facility, a seaport, an airport, a place like World Trade Center. And it was just to basically build a scanner that takes thousands of pictures below a car, below a vehicle, looks at the underbody, and very quickly can find anomalies, meaning IED, contraband, weapons, anything that doesn't belong, and is hidden below. So that's how we started. But fast forward, I mean, some OEMs started to recognize us in Europe and in Asia and kind of look at the technology and said, hey, could you use this technology to our plans? Can you look for, quality assurance issues or, if this can find a bomb, maybe it can find a leak. So that's how we kind of evolved and added more and more products. Started working with some of the manufacturers, gradually Volvo, Toyota, Hyundai, General Motors, and even CarMax invested in us. And the final kind of spree was actually when we moved to the United States or started the activity here during COVID. And I actually moved here in 2021 and started working with car dealerships, with auctions, fleets, rental companies. Amazon uses us, some of the manufacturers, and essentially everyone want the same thing. It's taking that methodology of taking pictures of a car. And we were doing AI before AI was such a, trending buzzword. So taking thousands of pictures below, around the vehicle, tires, everything we can, driving through like we call it like an MRI machine for cars, and within seconds diagnosing this with deep learning algorithms, computer vision algorithms, and indicating if there is a worn tire or an alignment issue or a sidewall damage or a rim damage or dents on the roof or glass damage or leaks below. It's a complete analysis, 360 degrees below and around the vehicle, giving you any kind of service or sales related information that you need. So that's kind of how we evolved very naturally into this world. Today, you can find us in 46 states, over 1,000 machines, mainly around North America. And it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's fascinating. He showed it to me on the plane. I was like, he's gonna be my best friend now. I've been in auto for 30 years and plus. And he saw for something that I've never seen in fixed ops before on the inspection of the vehicle. And you're always trying to figure out ways to actually make more money in fixed operations and in after sales. And it's hard to do because when a car comes in, you have to set up the appointment, and then an advisor has to call you and basically tell you everything else that's wrong with the car outside of the things that you came in for. And so there's typically a 120-point inspection, and that's all being done manually in the car business. They've solved for all of that. And the upsell is automatic almost right through his system.
This is what our machine looks like. All you need to do is drive through it, right? So it's set up, in this case, at the service lane. Every customer can drive through. You want to run service vehicles, appraisals, new cars, loaners, any vehicle that you can. You can see it's these three or four pieces of equipment that take all these pictures around. It takes literally 30 seconds to analyze those, and you can drive through up to 15 miles an hour. So what happens after is that we analyze all that information of the vehicle, and we like to say one scan, multiple values. So the first thing we do is we kind of analyze anything that could be wrong with the vehicle. We picked up the plate, connected it to the VIN. If there's any recalls, we'd fetch that as well. And as a first view, we would show you different things around the tires. So imagine yourself as a service, a customer coming through and getting an indication that you got to replace your tires because first of all they're expired, right? This is the DOT of your tires, 0218. Most people don't even check that, but or don't even know that tires can expire just like milk, right? So over 5 years old, that's something you got to look at. So that's one indication over here. We also measure the tread depth, and we can show you kind of each valley, and if it's wearing out, this could indicate an alignment or needing to replace that tire. But then we also find things like very small rim damages you can see over here, right? This is really good for reducing customer claims from the dealership side. If you damage my rim, you damage my door, you can even sell wheel restoration off this. Very visual. It's very powerful because what you see is what you get. If there's any cuts, scuffs, bulges here, we pick that up as well. Uh, this is communicated to the customer as they drive through. And there is really good visibility over here, kind of what's going on below. There might be some kind of leak over here. If there's any broken parts or broken shield, it would indicate that too. And we'd even show you kind of a heat map of rust, different areas of the vehicle. If it's rusting out, you can use that to appraise because a lot of dealers don't even put a vehicle on the lift. And then scratches and dents and kind of exterior damage. As you can see here, it's classified by body part. So this is kind of a quick glimpse of what a scan looks like, what the capabilities are. You can use it to sell more tires, more alignments, have a much better customer experience at check-in, reduce policy claims, run PDI vehicles, run loaners. But the real thing I'm fascinated about is actually the recon and sales side, because every damage that goes through, you can connect straight to vAuto and other tools. We work with many Cox products, but also a ton of other integrations and give it a dollar value. So you're able to give you a real-time condition of that vehicle, of what the real, condition is and the damages are. And we can even, and that's our newest kind of feature, produce a full merchandising photo book for that vehicle cleaned up with AI. So it's not only a scanner, it's a 360 photo booth for your website too, which you can put on wholesale on retail 30 seconds after you drive through. So that's kind of the quick full analysis of the main things we can see. Obviously, there's a lot of data behind this. We can aggregate, whether it's for the store, for the group, for the OEM, for the region. It's a fleet because again, we have quite a bunch of different clients, but essentially everyone wants the same thing. They want to inspect vehicles very quickly and later on get insights from that data. So that's in a nutshell.
Yeah, with the market and the state it's in, it seems like you're addressing really two of dealers' biggest needs, both to maximize their fixed ops, like Diana was talking about, but also to secure more used inventory.
Yeah. So what you can do here is service to sales. You can actually purchase vehicles from the lane because you have a notification, that someone came through the lane. We scan them. The used car manager gets a text. We pull the damage information, connect it to the auto. We can pull the Carfax, pull all the info, all the history, and make them an offer on the spot, and make sure that you don't absorb the recon cost. And it's already ready for you to merchandise with really good images. So it's a full cycle. Yeah.
How much is it? I know everybody's going to ask that question, so I want you to say it.
Yeah, so we have different pricing models for different types of clients. The good news is when you look at retailers and dealerships, it's quite a digestible fee. It's a monthly subscription. So they usually pay us a fee of around $10,000 just to put it in one time, just to install it, ship it. But then it's a monthly subscription that starts typically at around $6,000 a month, between six to $7,000 a month, depends on the scan. So it's quite digestible on a monthly level, just from selling. We see north of 100% raise on tire and alignments and saving on policy claims 70 to 80%. And then all the advantages on the loaner side PDI, but obviously the variable side of the recon estimate and buying the vehicles and the whole customer experience. The ROI on a monthly level is very easy to show just from the lift on RO and then everything around that.
And that strategy has evolved over time, right? You had some learnings in the market, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, I mean, as Diana also mentioned, and yourself about the history and kind of how we started. So when we were starting to work with this, we were more selling the equipment, just like other kind of diagnostics and different types of equipment for the service for the shop. But as time went on, we understood that what we're doing is actually it's a service. It's not an equipment sale because once UBI is installed, that's just the collection point. The heart of it is the data. The heart of it are the scans, and they keep getting more and more upgrades. So it made much more sense for us to go into a long-term relationship and all the upgrades, all the maintenance, all the new features, working with our dealers, not charging on integrations, by the way, making sure it's completely streamlined with its information for all the different departments, and pay a fee that again for any store over 400 RO, we find this 6 grand mark to be very digestible per month. The adoption is proving that dealers appreciate that, and it's working well.
Will say UVI has invented something that I wish was around way before when I was in retail. It would have made life so much easier. But even when I did automotive training on fixed ops, I would have probably had every single one of my dealerships buy UVI just because it pays for itself just by actually doing all the upsells for you, and the hard part is actually getting client advisors to contact the customer about the extra things that's wrong about those vehicles. Now you got the photos. You could text those photos to the customer. It's undeniable. So I actually was blown away by your product. Amazing what you guys have done. It just really hats off to you.
Talk a little about the growth that you've seen in auto retail lately. And I'm wondering, with those funds from your most recent round just last year, where are you growing and maybe what are your constraints?
So, first of all, the last year or so has been a massive year of growth for us. As I mentioned, we are now, getting to the point where there's going to be over 1,000 systems in the United States. Retailers have really adopted us. There's a couple of really big groups that started using us. Also, I mentioned Cox Automotive, which we pretty much integrate with their full suite now and doing a lot of really interesting things around service to sales and leveraging our data and their kind of footprint and everything they bring. So the last couple of years have been, on one hand, really intense and with very high adoption from more and more dealers joining. Dozens every month and more sign up. Just at NADA, we had over 100 dealers join us on the spot, which is insane. It's been a year or two where on one hand, we're always perceived as a fixed operations tool, as a customer experience tool, but we've branched out. I mean, all this work with variable and even BDC teams, right? So it's a little bit also like things that obviously Constellation does. And how can we interact with customers and market to them and bring them back to the store and understand what their service marginal tire potential to bring them back in could be like? So using tools like that for other departments has been massive for us. So it's the ROI of our machine is it's just it's getting bigger and bigger because we're just using that same kind of data and pictures, which is a strong kind of visual element in real time with just more departments, used cars, new cars, as I mentioned, BDC, even parts. So for us, it's been a year of tremendous growth and really a lot of installations and a lot of new partners, new OEMs that we're working with. We announced with Subaru and here a program for dealerships and obviously General Motors, which are one of our investors, and more. Um, and on the other hand, keep enhancing and making the product just bring you more value. So that's what we've been focusing on.
So I'm wondering, what's your strategy for future growth? You mentioned some larger groups. Is it kind of going after the big dealership groups, or is it working through the brands? Obviously, you've had a lot of support from the venture funds of the automakers. I wasn't sure if they're trying to get their dealers to use your system.
Yeah, so what's exciting about UVI is that it's almost like we call it a vehicle intelligence network because we have machines today at some of the plants. We have machines just this year we announced, or last year was Jaguar Land Rover, that we installed machines in all of the seaports where they import the vehicles into the United States. So we scan every JLR vehicle that comes through to make sure that it's in great shape. If there's any dent, anything that's missed, they can reverse engineer and fix that on the way, but also make sure that it gets in a really good condition to the retailer. That use case, we have a few more OEMs that we installed with as well at the seaports and at the land hubs. We have
Mhm.
now, hundreds and hundreds of retailers using this. And we also have customers like Amazon, also in up to 850 stations we're installing with them for Amazon Prime vehicles when the delivery trucks come in the morning and come back in the evening to make sure they're safe to drive and change anything if we need to. And then Hertz on the rental side, which we're already growing. So we have quite a bunch of use cases. So for us, I think the fascinating part is connecting all the dots. And that's also working with the brands many of the time because we could look at a vehicle from the plant and deep into the aftermarket and really understand how it performs after 5,000 miles, 10,000 miles. How does the underbody of Toyota Corolla or Ford F-150 rust in the Northeast after a certain amount of mileage? Which tire is wearing out on which type of vehicle, which model, and which year? These are really, really great insights. So for us, the future is connecting all those dots and just bringing really powerful, not disputable data, which nobody ever collected this way before of vehicles and their condition. So that those are the next steps.
How fast are you able to get a new system installed? If a dealer calls today and says, "Hey, I want to put this in my store or my 10 stores," do they have to wait a half a year, or do you get them in within a month or two? What's the lag like?
Yeah, average time is 30 to 60 days until we get the system there. We set it up. It can be done after hours, so we don't interfere with anyone. There's no digging required. It's really elegant equipment. We bolt it down, it sits there. We calibrate it around a day and a half, so like 90 hours net that we need to work on it. And then we come in with, by the way, if you ask about all this industry, what we learned is that there's no good technology without a good process and people using it and adopting it. So for us, onboarding, success, training, academy is the core of what we do. We make sure that, integrations to monitor that as well, engagement, working with the stores, making sure that every scan is open, every opportunity is capitalized or brought back to the store. Advisors are using it. Advisors are incentivized to use it. So the process is that they sign 30 to 60 days. We come in a day or two install. We come in a day or two of training, and you're good to go. That's it.
I have a question. How do you feel about the economy now? And how do you feel about like dealers? Because I have to tell you, it's a very frustrating time that I'm seeing right now, and the main reason is because I think dealers are very frustrated with this economy right now and, the issues of affordability in this country. And some of the questions that I get is like, they're not selling vehicles. They're upset because now the flooring is costing a whole different level of money. Every day is an emotional decision right now with every dealer that are saying, my gross profits have gone down quite a bit. Do you see any of this actually playing into your business at all?
I look at it from a few perspectives. First of all, weirdly, the last few years have been very weird in the world since COVID, right? So I think we've seen a lot of ups and downs and weird periods. I also think that dealerships and dealers specifically, all this industry, but also dealers as individuals are very, very, very resilient. I think time
Yes.
proves that whatever happens in the economy, so less new cars are being sold. Okay, we're selling more used. We need to improve the margins in fixed operations. We go there. We need to sell more EVs are coming. We need to sell more services. We can try that. So I think there's an agility and kind of resilience to this industry, and that time is just proving it. And especially with technology today, I mean, Every solution and its own thing, but at least from our perspective, we don't really feel it because we are a full dealership tool. So as I said, on one hand, maybe dealers are selling less new cars, but maybe we can help them on the fixed operation side sell more tires that would have went to the Costco or the Midas, and on the other hand, save more money on recon costs on the used cars. So the versatility of it gives the efficiency and ultimately also the customer experience, as long as customers are coming in and the dealer is the one in front of the customers, and it's not direct between a brand and a customer. There's the dealers in between, obviously. So they want a really good customer experience. And all of these things are, things we provide. So frankly, I feel like the industry is very resilient, and I feel like everything is temporary. And from our perspective, we just help them in other ways.
Some of the things that I've heard from dealerships, many of them have always complained to me about how they get robbed. And mainly, it's actually their own employees that steal from them. They say that they cut deals with wholesalers and obviously get appraisal lower on those wholesale vehicles. And then obviously they're selling it off to the wholesalers for discounted prices. And then they're able to collect some money from them on the side. Do you hear about this? And I was just wondering how UBI can help some of those types of situations.
That's a great question because, we like to call UVI a truth machine because basically,
Yeah.
you drive through, and
Yeah.
before that, it's a piece of metal. But when you drive through, the piece of metal, cameras, and very sophisticated sensors, but still, you drive through, and then it becomes the truth. Once you drive through
Yes.
it, it's evidence, it's timestamp, it's undisputable, it's image based, it's high resolution. There's always before and after, so it really gives an objectivity standpoint to it. So definitely when we work with auctions, the option to, on one hand, have a full merchandising kit of that vehicle once it drives through, but an objective report, timestamp report of the real condition. Also, you know, uh, from a different perspective on fleets, right? But we've seen situations because we can see if the tires are matched in the load and speed and size of people in different fleets, even stealing tires and replacing tires. For us, the moment you drove through, that is the stamp, that is the standard, it's there, and then everyone can view it in the same way. So definitely it could help solve these kind of things for sure.
Yeah, I think that is one of the frustrations too, Jamie.
It makes so much sense. Once you have the system evaluates the vehicle, if it transacts for something significantly different than that, it should send up a red flag. So, yeah, really smart. I think of UVI as one of these examples of, my thinking about AI for dealers, which is that you, Mr. or Mrs. Retailer, don't have to be a computer scientist. You don't have to develop these tools. Let them come to you with the AI built into them or the machine learning in your cases. I feel like, you guys, as you said, you started really long before AI was called AI, when it was really just machine learning. I'm wondering what you think about, in a bigger picture, the evolution of technology. Where do you see technology solving new problems and helping dealerships or retail networks improve?
Like you said, when we started this, computer vision analyzing photos with AI was a bit of a, I would say, an unknown kind of field compared to what it is today, right? And the capabilities are just amazing. I think that we got to look at it from two angles. There's just so many tools, and like you said, if we simplify AI, and it's at the end of the day, it's technology which probably does repetitive tasks better than people. Okay, so if it's an inspection that the advisor never wants to do and never does it consistently, or even a technician, which is time is much more valuable in fixing the cars, it's looking at it. In our case, we could do it quickly, more efficiently, objectively. So that's taking a AI with a technology, in our case inspection, and doing a much better job and just increasing efficiency that way for people to put their time in much more value added things. So you're just covered with these kind of processes around you that are gradually being enhanced by AI. Now, we don't need to be afraid of it because it's mainly those kind of repetitive tasks that, have an advantage for a computer to do that people don't really like doing or make a lot of mistakes with. So the more we get covered by those things, efficiency goes up. And I do think there should be guardrails and there should be ways to look at it. And I'm personally not afraid of AI. I think it's just replacing a lot of behind the scenes that was done much worse before. And life will go on. Technology will, will embed itself behind the scenes in many different ways. Where this will go on is that once we have a lot of technology embedded, we have much better data. When you have data, things are evidence based and numbers based and not assumption and feeling based. So, the next steps would be I actually just came back from a finished vehicle logistics event in California with the biggest OEMs and kind of people managing the vehicle from the finished goods stage at the plant until the retailers. And what I was saying there is that on one hand, these technologies now they improve efficiency, but imagine in our case at UVI, we're seeing 3.5 million vehicles every month. And if you look at a tactical location, let's say a seaport, we see a wave of vehicles coming through day in, day out. There's no reliance on a person being impatient or not feeling well. It does the same job time and time again. If we see a trend of a rear panel being scratched at a certain place, we can flag that. And we can say, hey, there's an angle there where they take it off the boat, or there's a narrow road when the carrier drives the vehicle that scratches it at the same place. Change the road, change the route, please. So for me, that's an exact example of how you can take big data of things you're tracking or doing the same now again and again, and it's actually something you can look at and using that big data become even better. So I think there's a lot of examples you could probably take from other industries as well, but I think this is where it's going to go to. It's more efficiency behind the scenes. I don't think a lot of people are going to be replaced, not at least as a lot of people fear. I think that things will become more efficient around you, and there will be really smart analytics from whatever is being done this way to change things. So that's the way I see it.
Yaron, that's a great place to finish. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate you talking about the company and just how you look at all the things going on in the industry with technology. It's been a great conversation.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it.